I already know. I already know what you're doing. Go ahead. Type about it. Teams you look forward to watching them lose. Now, we all love to watch our team win every week. Or, if you're a Florida fan, once every 4 or 5 weeks during the season. But anyway, every single season, at least for me, there's certain teams I'm like, man, sure would be funny if they would lose. Now, sometimes it's just a specific game, like for whatever reason. Or other times it's just a team in general. You just they lose. Now, I'm wondering about y'all and how y'all feel about that. Now, I'm going to put a couple of caveats, not rules, but just so I know a lot of people always want their rivals to lose. I get that. So, like in my case, I'm a Georgia fan, so maybe it's easier for me to go, well, I want Florida and Auburn and Georgia Tech to lose every week. That's not what I'm talking about. You know, I know if you're an Ohio State fan, you want Michigan to go 0-100. You know, if you're a Miami fan, you want Florida State to go 0-100. I get that. I'm not really talking about your team's rival. That's kind of a given. People like to watch their rival lose. There's another group of teams that people sometimes root for to lose that I'm also not referring to here. But a lot of times teams that have been good or actually really good for some significant amount of time, people start to root for them to lose. Or even if they don't root for them to lose, they celebrate when they lose. Alabama is probably the best example of this over the last 15 or 20 years or so. Not only was Alabama good, they were good for an extended period of time. They were good for such a long time, really, that there is an entire generation now of Alabama fans who've really never seen them struggle. Think about it. We laugh at Alabama when they go 10-2 or 9-3. Like, they haven't seen a really bad season in a long time. If you're an Alabama fan under the age of 25, you don't remember the 2000s. So for a while, people would actively root for Alabama to lose, and maybe now there's people that want to see Georgia lose, or Ohio State, or Texas, or Washington, or Alabama still, whatever teams that tend to be good. It's sometimes fun to watch them lose. I'm not talking about teams like that. So I'm not talking about your rivals, and I'm not talking about teams you want to see them lose just because they've been good. What I'm actually talking about here is teams that you look forward to watching them lose just because of their fans. Just because of their fans. That's it. You got no hate for the school. You got no hate for the team. Maybe you never even particularly cared about the team or paid that much attention to it, but for whatever reason, their fans have become so goddamn annoying that you find yourself going, you know what would make me happy? To see those people fucking miserable. And in order for that to happen, their team needs to lose, so therefore I'm rooting for such and such team to take a giant L. And I've got a few examples here that come to mind for me. They're probably pretty obvious to you. Florida State. I have told stories on this channel year over year about my feelings about Florida State and me and my grandfather watching college football games when I was little, and his favorite team was Florida State and Bobby Bowden, and how big of a part Florida State played in me becoming a college football fan. I was never a Florida State fan. I've always been a Georgia fan. But my dad was an NFL guy. My granddaddy was a college football guy, and I gravitated towards the college football side of things. So when I look back at sort of my journey of becoming a college football fan, it takes me back to times with my grandfather, and he was a Florida State fan and all that. But my God, the last 6 or 7 months have turned me into one of the biggest Florida State haters on the planet. I'm not going to lie. And it's got nothing to do with Florida State. It's got nothing to do with the school. It's got nothing to do with the football team. And it's got everything to do with the fans. I don't know if I've seen a group of fans collectively lose their mind like this. That they have jumped into a pit of insanity that appears to have no bottom for these people. Some of the conspiracy theories they have, some of the crazy ideas they have, whether you're talking about, the grant of rights is meaningless and we can leave the ACC yesterday if we want. You remember this time last year? We're leaving the ACC tomorrow. We're leaving in June. We're leaving in July. Oh, well, we're leaving in August. Now, the whole time people are telling them, well, what about the TV deal? And what about your grant of rights? It don't matter. Grant of rights ain't worth the toilet paper it's written on. Florida State can leave whenever they want to. Well, it turns out, we all knew it was bullshit. Turns out it was bullshit. Now they're tied up in court for God knows how long about all that. But then the whole playoff snub and bowl game thing. And here's what makes this especially... I don't really take any happiness here in finding myself in the position I'm in, rooting against Florida State, wanting Florida State to lose just so their fans will shut the hell up. I don't really, that doesn't make me happy because, number one, the story I just told you with my granddaddy and Florida State and all that. Number two, I agree with their baseline premise. Like, I would have voted Florida State into my top 4 if I was on the committee. But that's where our agreements end right there. They then go off into the never realm of Kirk Herbstreit hate. Everything's Kirk Herbstreit's fault, and it's ESPN's fault, and it's the SEC's fault, and it was the one-armed man. Just all these conspiracy. They think that the athletic director of Michigan and the athletic director of NC State are just propaganda arms of the SEC office, or like, it's just weird. And they think there's just this mass conspiracy to keep Florida State out and to put Alabama in. They're convinced that Saban told ESPN he was retiring in November, and then ESPN hatched this giant plan to then put Alabama into the playoffs no matter what. It's just wild. And they just won't shut up about it. And that's one thing. And again, here's what people need to understand, and most people do. There are lots of people every single year that have disagreed with the decision the playoff committee makes the first weekend in December when they pick the 4 playoff teams. There were Georgia fans that felt like they should have been in a couple of years where they didn't get in. There's been fans of other teams that, pretty much whoever the 5 team is every year. In some cases, the 6 team, too, think, oh, it should have been us. We're better than that team. We're better than this team. I don't know what the committee is doing. That's as American as apple pie. I mean, people have been complaining about polls and rankings since the beginning of time. That's not new. That's not new. And that's what this is. The committee voted, and you disagree with where they placed Florida State in that last ranking. And that's okay. I do, too. And I said that. But then they just on and on and on and on and on, and it's exhausting. And then the bowl game comes around, and that becomes a whole separate issue. Boycotting the bowl game. You got 48 quitters that didn't want to play. They then go out and lose 63-3. Listen, I don't like it, but players have been sitting out of bowl games for about 7 or 8 years now. Maybe 2, maybe 10, maybe 1, maybe 15 off of whatever team in whatever given year. It's a reality of life. You show up to the game, you plan to win. That's just how it goes. That's just the way it goes. Florida State had 85 scholarships. Georgia had 85 scholarships. Florida State had some people out. Georgia had some people out. Did Florida State have more out? Yes. Yes. You lost 63-3. Pretending the game doesn't count, making 13-0 rings, calling yourself state champions like some high school shit. Here we are, at middle of May, towards the end of May, 6 months later. You can't go on Twitter without seeing a Florida State fan crying about the Orange Bowl, or the College Football Playoff Selection Committee, or the fact that they got left out, or, they're hiding in their room with all the lights turned off with a flashlight, checking under their bed to see if Kirk Herbstreit's under there. It's just fucking weird. It's just fucking weird. And for that reason, one of the funniest possible things that could happen this year in the entire season of college football would be for Florida State to travel all the way to Ireland for no fucking reason just to get their ass beat by Georgia fucking Tech. They play week 0 in Ireland, Georgia Tech and Florida State. And before you just dismiss that and go, well, Georgia Tech's got no chance to beat Florida State, that's the same Georgia Tech team that has beat Florida State in 2 out of the last 3 years. So, yes, Georgia Tech has a chance to beat Florida State. Of course they do. And it would be hilarious. And whoever Florida State plays after that, it'd be hilarious to lose that game. And the next one, and the next one, and the next one. I will be celebrating every single Florida State loss that occurs in the 2024 season. And it's because of their fans. The second team that comes to the top of my mind is Colorado. Now, this is a little weird because I know you're thinking there ain't no Colorado fans. There's a few. There's a few. There's a bunch of Deion fans, though. Now, I'm not rooting for Colorado to lose because of the Colorado fans. I'm rooting for Colorado to lose because of the Deion Stans. These people, these dingleberries swinging off the nuts of Coach Prime for the last year and a half, they couldn't find Colorado on a map 24 months ago. Now they're on the internet pretending to be college football experts and lifelong Colorado fans. No, you're not. You've been chasing Deion around like a fucking groupie for the last 25 years. He pops up in college football and all of a sudden you're pretending like you know what you're talking about. You don't. You don't. He's not a good coach. In fact, he's not a coach at all. Been over all that a million times. I'm not going to go back into it here. We all know what Deion is and more importantly, what he isn't. But I'm actively rooting for Colorado to lose. Not because I want the Colorado fans to be miserable. Again, as far as I know, all three of them are nice people, the actual Colorado fans. The rest of them are just Deion dingleberries, and seeing them come up with a second year's worth of excuses is going to be absolute gold. Colorado's not getting anywhere near a Big 12 championship game or a playoff like these nitwits and these nincompoops think they are. So that's my two, Florida State and Colorado. What teams are you actively looking forward to watching lose in the 2024 season? And again, not because they're your rival. Not, you can't just say Alabama or if you're an Auburn fan or Michigan if you're an Ohio State fan. Rule out the rivalry deal and rule out, well, I want them to lose because I'm tired of seeing them win. Rule those two things out. Then tell me which teams it is you're looking forward to watch lose in 2024. Feels good to put on the team asshole hat and the wanted glasses and pace around this room like a fucking maniac. Because that's what I am. I'm still doing some work on the helmets here. I've rearranged them a couple of times. Don't be alarmed. The hook broke. Don't worry. It's just Boston College. If you ask 100 people to name the ACC teams, half of them would leave out Boston College anyway. And this is the second time today, actually, that this LSU helmet has fell off of that hook right there. So I'm going to take that hook down and redo it. But we're getting there. I still have all these helmets here. I still have all those helmets on the floor over there and over yonder. There's a whole other bunch of helmets in the closet, but that's the whole Power 5. Well, that's the whole Power 5 minus Boston College and LSU, like I said, but that's the entire Power 5 on the wall there. We got plenty of room up top to put another couple of rows. We got rooms on the side of the movie theater chairs here. We got a whole nother blank wall here, and we got plenty of room above the computer monitors and that over there. So don't worry. Don't worry. Plenty of room. And got some other stuff going up in here, too. But anyway, man. How many losses combined for Florida State and Colorado this year? Combined. If I put the over-under at 8.5. Combined losses. Not each. So not Colorado losing 8 and Florida State losing. Combined. Do you think Colorado and Florida State will lose more than or less than 8.5 games combined? I know you can't lose 8.5 games. That's why this is an over or an under deal. In other words, do you think they're going to lose 9 games or more combined or 8 games or less? Florida State and Colorado? Shit. I'll take the over.